Welcome to GRE Math, tricks your high school teacher never taught you. I'm Gene, your GRE expert, and in this video, we're going to be exploring some tricks that will help you with data interpretation problems come test day. Data interpretation problems, you'll see approximately 3 of those per GRE Quant section, usually clustered together with a graph or set of graphs, and they come at the very end of a GRE Quant section. Doesn't mean you have to do them at the end because you can skip around in a section, but that is where they appear. Now, in data interpretation, you can see all kinds of different graphs. You could see line graphs, you could see pie charts, you could see bar graphs. And because we are going to be looking at graphs in this lesson, I want to warn you, there will be some graphic content involved. See what I did there? It's graphic content. Okay, let's start getting into the fun stuff. The first graph that we are going to look at happens to be a scatter plot. It represents a relationship between the number of giraffes and number of elephants in the zoos in the 50 US states and Washington, D.C. So we have a total of 51 dots that we have in this scatter plot on this graph. The question wants to know how many we have that are that represent fewer than 10 giraffes in a zoo. Now, if we look at fewer than 10 giraffes, of course, you can't write on the screen come test day. I guess you could try, but the proctors would probably kick you out. They wouldn't like that when you deface their expensive monitors. So you could take the scratch paper that you're given and literally hold it up to the screen to line up what is the demarcation line between the data points we're interested in and the ones we're not. We're interested in what we have on the left side here, fewer than 10 giraffes. Well, did you feel an urge just now to take your finger and start counting up all those dots? That's probably what your high school math teacher would want you to do, because your high school math teacher would want you to be very precise and count up exactly how many dots there are. But we don't want you to care just about this problem. What if the day you're sitting for the GRE, you have a scatter plot like this with hundreds of dots? You're really going to sit there and count them up? I don't think so. Instead, let's talk about a little trick. You may have heard the expression before in your life, leverage your assets. Well, if you have a multiple choice question, the answer choices can be your assets. The question wanted to know approximately what is the percent of those zoos that have fewer than 10 giraffes. Our answer choices are pretty spread out. So let me fire off some questions at you. The same questions I would want you to ask yourself, right? Help you build that inner monologue of the GRE champion that you are training to be. To the left of that line, does that look like a majority or a minority of all the dots to you? It's certainly a minority, right? You don't need to take your finger and start counting up all those dots to recognize that. Well, already 3 answer choices are dead to us. Get out of here, answer choices C, D, and E all represent 50% or greater. That leaves us with 2 answer choices, 10% and 25%. Again, leverage your assets. The answer choices can be your assets. We have a total of 51 dots in this scatter plot. If it had been 10%, how many dots would you have expected to see? You'd expect to see about 5 dots to the left of that line, right? Well, 5.1, but you can't have 0.1 of a dot. Does that look like 5 dots to you? It doesn't, right? It certainly looks like more than 5 dots. So one more answer choice gets dismissed from consideration. Get out of here, answer choice A. You're dead to us. Leaves us with answer choice B. It's approximately 25% of all the dots that you see in that graph represent the giraffes, or the zoos rather, that have fewer than 10 giraffes. Now, would it have been the worst thing in the world if you took your finger and started counting up all those dots? Okay, there's 13 of them, and I'll put 13 out of 51. It's not the worst thing in the world. Nobody's going to come and arrest you if you do that. But anytime you could shave off 10 seconds here, 15 seconds there, by not doing extra work that isn't necessary to get the problem right in the first place, it adds up over the course of a GRE Quant section. And next thing you know, you can take that time, apply it to other questions that do demand it, and squeeze some more points out of your GRE Quant scores. Use the answer choices to your advantage. That's an important GRE trick. Now's the part where we reach the high calorie portion of this video. We're going to look at a pie chart, which very appropriately is about pie. We have here a bunch of segments of pie that represent what a certain diner is selling. We're told within the pie chart that half of the pies are apple on a certain day, 1/6 are pumpkin, 1/5 are cherry, and there are 12 blueberry. We want to know how many total pies are in that pie chart. Now, your high school math teacher would probably tell you to start setting up an equation. Did you feel an urge to do that when you read through this problem? Oh, I'll call the total number of pies x. So I'll have 1/2 x plus 1/6 x plus 1/5 x plus 12 equals x. Well, check yourself before you wreck yourself, because there are a few things that we can do to make much shorter work out of this problem. First of all, we're told within the problem that this diner only sells whole pies. Well, if the diner only sells whole pies, and we know that 1/2 of them are apple, whatever the right answer is, needs to be some multiple of 2, some even number. Also, 1/6 are pumpkin, so it needs to be some multiple of 6. And also 1/5 of the pies are cherry, so the right answer needs to be some multiple of 5. Look at those answer choices. Be bold, be aggressive. The GRE really wants to reward bold, aggressive test-taking behavior from students who know what they're looking for. Kind of like, you ever see the movie Bring It On? Right? Be aggressive. Be aggressive. Bet you didn't think that was going to come up in this video, right? Do you see which answer choices we can eliminate? We can eliminate 75, because that's not an even number, not a multiple of 2. We can eliminate also 100 and 125, because they are not divisible by 6. Side note, we can tell if a number is divisible by 6 if it is both even, and also if the sum of its digits is some multiple of 3. Well, that only leaves us with 2 answers. Not too bad, considering that we haven't done very much math at all yet, right? Well, now we're down to 2 answer choices. Either there are a total of 60 pies or a total of 90 pies. Well, we can take one of those answer choices now, leverage your assets, and we can run it through the parameters of the original problem, see if it satisfies all the conditions. Let's use 60 because that's a smaller number, so more manageable. If we had 60 pies to begin with, 1/2 are apple, so that's 30 apple pies. 1/6 are pumpkin. 1/6 of 60, that's 10 pumpkin pies. 1/5 are cherry, so 1/5 of 60, that's 12 cherry. I don't care how good anybody is at algebra, I would put money on this. You could probably do more quickly and less chance of error 1/2 of 60 and 1/6 of 60 and 1/5 of 60 than doing 1/2 of x and 1/6 of x and 1/5 of x. So where do we now stand? Well, we had all those apple and pumpkin and cherry pies, 30 and 10 and 12. Throw in the 12 blueberry. Do we end up with 60 total pies? Negative, we do not. But that's still good news, because this is a multiple choice problem. One of those answer choices has to be correct. If we've already eliminated B, D, and E, now we eliminate answer choice A. Could we just pick answer choice C and move on? You bet your sweet patootie we could. Sorry to use that kind of language, that's my New Jersey upbringing. But we can do here very minimal math by knowing what we're looking for in the answer choices and not turning this into an ugly algebra problem the way your high school math teacher probably would have. Thank you for watching this video on some data interpretation tricks. Actually, the tricks that we talked about in this video about using the answer choices to your advantage and plugging them up into the parameters of the problem, that could be useful not only for data interpretation, but could also actually be used for GRE problem-solving questions where you have numbers in the answer choices, no variables, that could be plugged in to the original parameters of the problem. Turn the abstract into the concrete. Using actual numbers is usually a little easier to visualize than using variables, right? Well, we all know what 60 pies looks like. Nobody knows what X pies looks like. Thanks again for watching this video. If you have any questions or concerns, don't be shy about putting them into the comments down here below. I'm here for you. And check out the other videos by subscribing to our channel. Onwards and upwards, GRE soldiers. I'm Gene. See you next time.